kind of don't drink your own Kool-Aid. Go get this out in front of people. Get it out in front of potential customers, get feedback, like ask yourself the hard questions. Don't ignore them. Ask those first. Understand what your blockers are. Understand what your biggest risks are.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever you may be listening. This is Latitude, the 43 North podcast. I'm your host, Nate Benson. It's let me see, quick math in my head. Yes, this might be the holiday edition of the podcast. I'm joined by two of the most festive people here in the incubator, Nick and Jonathan from Helm. Nick, guys, how you doing?
Really well. Yeah. Happy holiday.
Yes, and a happy holiday to you as well. Tell us a little bit about Helm. What is Helm?
Sure. So we're a digital product and design studio located in Buffalo, New York. We're at about 10 people now, and we help companies of all sizes, early stage companies and large companies, build software products and services.
Cool.
I think I did a good job.
That's a fantastic.
That was pretty good.
It's pretty darn good.
It's taken us 2.5 years to get to that description.
You've got the mission and vision. This is going to be a great episode that we all have an adult beverage, and I'm already misspeaking.
Right.
This is going to be one of the highest rated podcasts.
We bring anything, it's ratings.
That's right. You guys kind of were born out of this blossoming startup scene, right? Talked a little bit about the beginnings of Helm. You guys have known each other for well over a decade at this point, right?
Yeah. So we went to college at Canisius together and met there and worked at a small startup in Buffalo in 2007 that was the parent company of Buffalo Rising, and that was had more of a different vision of growth all over the country. So we both worked there for a year, then we worked in San Francisco at a startup for a year, and we came back and sort of split ways and kept in touch. But in the meantime, there was a grassroots startup thing happening in Buffalo that both of us were involved with, from like the Open Coffee Club, which was just a group that would meet and have coffee every Tuesday and discuss technology and building businesses, and then eventually organizing startup weekends and things like that. So we were sort of like the tip of the spear of what became then the large, focused, state-backed 43 North, and like really getting things going. Like we were just the grassroots organizers that kind of made things start to take shape and just wanted it to exist, so we did it. And Helm was born out of the confluence of all of those things. So we saw companies becoming real and needing our services. We knew about what was happening here at Z80 and at 43 North, and we knew that there would be a need. And then just the same way that we work with startups, we realize that large companies have divisions that also want to act like startups, so we often work with those teams, helping them build internal things.
I'm going to pause 1 second, just readjust.
I don't know where to sit.
Where do I put my hands?
Hopefully I can have to say all of that again.
No, you don't. No, I'll just...
There we go. To talk up there. That's more like what I deal with in the studio,
Yeah.
Because you're
Everett-
one buddy.
Everett.
I'm more like Liam Gallagher, where I get under it.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, when John Spitz was on the podcast, he said he did all of this, and now you guys are saying you did all this. So we got a little turf war thing going on. Of
big turf war.
who
I
did
think it
this?
was it was a group of people who really liked making things happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like creating them. So John was certainly an integral part in all of this.
Yeah.
In fact, he would be like the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
Certainly around Buffalo Startup Weekend, but
He brought Startup Weekend here. But
Yeah.
Steve Poland honestly would be the first person, because he brought Bar Camp here, which was the precursor, I'd say, for everything.
Yeah.
And that was just showing off whatever you want. It was like a learning thing. And that was 10 years ago, because there was a time from Buffalo Rising where you and I walked over from Mississippi Street to Pearl Street. I remember Steve had this giant bubble jacket from the 90s on, like a giant orange bubble jacket.
Bubble jackets.
That's how young we were. Yeah, like that was one of the first times I think I saw the community become like
Something
start to
whole,
get
yeah.
together and not just be Cinecores over here and Campus Labs, Student Voices over there. Like it was more getting people together.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a continuation, rather, kind of here at the incubator, everyone trying to bring together their ideas. So the Helm story, why did you guys, feel the need to put something like that together? You were doing the thing at Buffalo Rising's parent company, split from that. Why do a startup yourself? Not a lot of people probably consider a design firm a startup, but realistically any entrepreneurial venture is a startup. So why do it?
Yeah, so we started to work with different clients and friends in the community trying to build companies and software products. So we would help out with their branding and their UI because we wanted to just see that go forward. And as we started to realize, as Nicholas and I would meet up over time, we would say, hey, I'm working on these 3 things, you're working on these 4 things. What if we created a services company that could help push that forward? So it was kind of, again, like a grassroots thing that was just naturally happening. We had a design background, both of us, and like digital, so we just wanted to apply that and help others grow through it.
Yeah. You guys have been around, you've seen, things kind of grow. And I don't want to ask the question of like, how have things changed? Because it's just like everyone tells me the same story. But you guys have been kind of working on the back end of things. So you've seen how, I guess, advanced some of these companies and institutions have gotten with kind of bigger ideas. Is that a safe thing to say? And look like ACV is an example of, a company that like, selling cars is not a new idea, but it's like they found that niche of it. It's like, oh, holy crap, that's a great, huge idea.
Yeah. So that's not an example of how things have changed, but we've talked about this before with on one of those other podcasts.
The other one? There's another one?
There's companies that are sort of proper for Buffalo, and ACV is a prime example of that, where it's maybe not a sexy technology thing, although it kind of is now.
Yeah,
definitely. But it's moving used cars, and there's a need for that. Buffalo is really a prime area to specialize in those sorts of businesses, like plumbing, HVAC, app tools, right? Like there's a company that does that here, and it's under the radar as thousands of users. Like those things are really interesting, and that's where we like to apply design thinking and just design services in general inside large corporations or maybe medium-sized companies in Buffalo, because there's all these legacy businesses in Buffalo that need to digitize and become modern, and we can help them do that. And we've learned that was a bigger opportunity that we maybe didn't focus on early on, because we were just building startups and it was cool and fun. And we still do that because that's part of our DNA. Is one of our prime things.
That's how things have started to shift, right? You start off with this very like scrappy, almost like guerrilla group building things, and you actually see these companies like grow into a teenager and then an adult, and then
there's a lot of punk rock kids in Buffalo who kind of did the DIY approach, and then all of a sudden, like as you get the aged rocker things, like I'm now responsible.
Yeah. And with that comes different ways to apply design and how to like scale a team and make sure an organization understands like who their end user is.
Right.
So the challenges get larger, but I think that becomes really interesting, I know, to the two of us, because we're able to affect kind of a wider range of things with design thinking. So I think that like scale has helped that over the past 3 years has changed.
In one way, so to answer your first question around how things have changed, and cut all of this if people have said this before, but I think it's more centralized than it was. I know it's more centralized than it was previously, so the number of companies and new technology companies happening in Buffalo is a little more than it used to be. Like there were usually like 3 or 4 things always happening.
Sure.
But now it's centralized, so if a company goes under, it's easy to just pick those people.
Yeah.
Or like there's a community that actually can create more of a mass that eventually, like we can hit critical mass, I think, and have just more happening. So like the tours that come through here and ingratiate kids to these things is really important. And that's where you don't see these things as just like, oh, there's business over on the waterfront that does X or Y. It's a community that was really driven. So that's one of the prime things that's been.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when like you see someone working for company X here in the incubator, and a lot of this is just the incubator because we're here every day, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you'll see them working for company Y, because it's just like
they're on the other side of the room.
The other side of it's like, oh, you've moved your desk. Why? Oh, you're working with them. Okay, cool. It's kind of nice to see that everyone knows each other, so there's a little bit of that poaching, a little bit of that, hey, I need a new gig. You got something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's really helpful. Like that helps everything grow, right?
Yeah. So what would the general public recognize from Helm? What do you guys got your toes dipped into here with some of your clientele and some of the big projects you guys have worked on?
We've been with
Or is it
ACV.
all top secret?
It's all non-disclosure
Yeah.
agreements. No, so we
Deep
work
state
with,
type
we
stuff.
work with ACV. Yeah, I wish. No, I don't. So we work with ACV Auctions, which I think if anyone familiar with 43 North is familiar with them
Yeah.
at this point. But they're a winner, fast-growing startup in Buffalo. We've been with them since day one. We were part of their napkin sketches. So, I mean, we've really been there
Yeah.
with them through all of their trials and tribulations. So that's been very rewarding. We also work with Lloyd Taco Trucks, which is
Small boutique taco
right,
joint.
right, and catering and restaurants and everything else they do now. So we've been with them since day one as well. So there's going to be a little bit of a trend here, and that's for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah.
I think 2010 was summer. Was
Seems
their
like
opening.
yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, that white truck and all that stuff they were doing, but helping them grow and they're older than Helm, but Helm. They were part of my freelance work, and then they came under Helm, and our team has brought them to places I could never do it. So that's been really fun. And then we work with Independent Health, doing a lot of stuff for them, which is hard to really show because it's behind login walls and things. It's not as it impacts a lot of people, but ultimately it's their.
So it's one of those things like,
systems.
yeah, unless you use it every day. Yeah.
Right,
you
right.
know, you
yeah.
wouldn't.
But
see it.
super important thing, right?
Yeah.
Your health insurance, like we've been able to do some really awesome work with them. And then the Basil Automotive group, we do their web development. So all of their sort of car industry thing, which neither of us comes from that space, but
I mean, you own a car. That's probably the extent.
I do own a car.
The
yes.
extent of your.
It's 11 years old. But yeah, so we do a lot of work with them as well, where we've been able to just modernize some things and really start to bring them some really cool stuff that we'll be launching pretty soon, actually. And then we do project-based work for larger entities as well. That I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, some are just startups, and they're often names you haven't heard of yet, but you will.
That's right.
We end up doing a lot of that work as well. It's fun.
It's a little bit of everything, and
It
all
is.
shapes and sizes.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
fun.
over.
It's
Yeah.
fun, like uncovering different challenges at different size companies and
Yeah.
people in education and telemedicine, car industry, health. Like, it's fun to understand the business and then apply design to solve stuff.
What are some of the challenges of doing things for all shapes and sizes of businesses? There are design firms out there that only do UX, they only do branding, they only do a variety of things. Why be flexible, especially in a size ecosystem like this?
Sure. So things change at a rapid pace with companies. So applying like a fixed method to any specific industry or company it doesn't serve them properly. If we stay agile, that means the company can make faster decisions, and as priorities change, we can change with them. So ultimately, we don't force a process. We have kind of a framework that continually produces good work, but we don't force anything.
We're also our background is both as designers, so we like learning about things.
Yeah.
And we both like business in general. I mean, that's why we do what we do, and we work in the space we do. So when you combine those two things, it is sort of doing an early deep dive on learning how a business works, and then how technology can improve that is something that we both just enjoy and like, and that that wasn't like a manifesto thing we wrote up or anything that was planned, but it sort of happened organically because we both just like that. And that's another reason why we haven't specialized or chose to.
It's interesting being in an environment like this. You find yourself just kind of gravitating towards the interests of the people around you. Prior to working here, I could have cared less about business, the stock market, and all of a sudden every day I'm like on my Robinhood app going, oh, I'm doing great today. This is fantastic.
You should be on Coinbase.
I am. We can get to that later in the episode. I'm making millions in my Bitcoin, sadly. So you yourselves have, like the ecosystem, you've kind of grown as well. You've got a pretty expansive team now, right? Of multiple. How many up to you guys now?
Yeah, so we're at 10 people now.
Wow.
I think it's like 7 full-time people and then 3 like pretty much full-time contractors, like close friends and others that work with us on a regular basis.
So you're really just managing now. You're not even doing the hard work. You're just managing people now.
It's way harder.
I know, that's the thing. It's like you don't even get to do the fun work anymore. You got to deal with can I have tomorrow off?
Part of the fun is like understanding different business models and how we can provide value there.
Yeah.
So many people don't understand the technology that exists out in the world, and sometimes we're just kind of consulting them on, hey, this third-party service exists, and if you plug that in your business, it could really have great effects. And that's fun.
And both of us are generalists to a degree, so it's great that we can bring on people that are way better than us to do the work, and we can.
It's still under your name. That's great.
Exactly. And take all the credit.
It's really the perfect situation.
It's that's why you do this, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's great to like let our team really explore this stuff and do. I mean, like the design work that we did for Churn, the soft serve ice cream sister brand of Lloyd. Like our team just did amazing stuff on that. Neither of us would have been able to accomplish, and that in itself is rewarding. But it also then lets us sort of, yes, we have the headaches of managing and learning how to do that on the fly, but we also then get to work with all these companies and play and learn about what they're doing and do the things that we really enjoyed. I think both as freelancers and in our careers previously.
All good. I'm trying to think of the question I just had in my head, and I lost it listening.
Just wax poetically about that.
This doesn't help either. This beverage I'm drinking.
He's drinking something.
I'm going to have to edit this part. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. It's been a long week,
We should
gentlemen.
keep this.
Keep this awkward silence. Just
I mean, the
painful.
clinking of
Like,
the mug on
yeah,
the table.
I just want to know. How, like,
people love that.
Like, what's the abandon rate of the podcast right now? Just like they're done with this. So, what are some of the, you deal with a lot of startups. What are some of the challenges? They come in with an idea, and they, from a user experience design standpoint, sometimes the look of things isn't always as important to them as the end game. So how do you guys kind of fill in those gaps, to kind of sometimes bring those founders or the, whoever's involved in that startup kind of back down to earth, like, hey, you need to focus on X or Y?
Sure. So, I mean, it's a lot of conversation and like regular conversation. We don't ever go away for weeks on end and then have this big reveal at the end. Yeah. Every part of the process is very integrated. And like, I think challenging some of the things, like a lot of people will just build for a check.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we're in business to do. Like we're going to challenge your ideas that we might not provide the most value to the end user. We're going to help you understand the value of, visual design and an interface at the very early stage versus doing that in a later iteration. So like that negotiation around priority and complexity of what a feature takes to build or design is just constant conversation throughout the project.
What are some of the things, startups should be thinking of when they're approaching, I'll use Helm as an example, to develop a product? Like, I have this idea on a napkin like ACV did. Like, how do what's those next steps? What's those, like, okay, I need to make a thing now and like make it my own as a company?
Yeah, I mean, we both advocate the lean business plan canvas as a way to start. Just organizing your thoughts around making this more of a real business. And then we often, back to the community thing that there's the people are here, so we'll send people around the room sometimes, and they'll send people our way. So I think that's another place where, okay, learning about what 43 North is, learning about what Z80 is, talking to them, because then you can start to gauge someone's seriousness, because that's one of the big challenges.
Because everybody has an idea.
And so many people think they can have an idea and build an application and push that out in the world and then become like a rabid success. And that's not the case. And like Nicholas said, helping them understand all the verticals in a business to get off the ground. Like, what are you going to do with sales? How are you going to onboard people?
Just going to sell itself.
It's right.
Brilliant idea. Yeah.
So like just helping them frame that
It's
up,
the web
I
in
think
1989.
it asks the right questions.
Yeah. So where do you think things are going in terms of the types of businesses you guys are seeing? I know you guys are, as you gain popularity, you're getting more established brands, coming to you guys for things. But where are you kind of seeing kind of the workload going for everything? Yeah, there's your
Yeah,
tough
no,
question.
So, you know, like part of
I don't know if it's a good question, but
No,
it's a
I
tough
think
question.
It's a great
That's why
question.
it's
So, like, we kind of talked about, you know, how Buffalo has these companies that, you know, might not be sexy consumer products, but
Yeah.
you know, it's very lucrative and they're doing well. And I think that's really what we like to do. So, like, you know, someone might need to build an internal tool to make their processes completely efficient or move them away from paper. And those types of tools are very, very valuable for a company. And it's not something like the next Snapchat or whatever it might be. So we certainly like that. We like building those internal tools. But we're also interested in things like augmented reality and the blockchain, and just like cutting edge tech and how someone who might not understand that can leverage it for their business.
I mean, SaaS products are the thing that can flourish here, where it is, you know, maybe only need. The other thing that we often talk with entrepreneurs about is that they might only need 10 customers or 50 customers using their web-based application or mobile app or whatever it is to have it make money. It doesn't need to be a billion users in the Facebook style thing. And that's, people that have done it before know that, and they know that, okay, I just gotta get to my next sale and my next customer. But you know, we've seen a lot of stuff in the real estate space, some companies that we work with that are small right now, and hopefully grow. And then people attempting to build marketplaces, I would say, are the other one that we see a lot of. Like, those two spaces seem to be, people find problems that they want to solve there.
Healthcare as well, that seems to be on everybody's
There's
mind.
one or two small healthcare facilities up the road here from the incubator,
Right.
so that makes
Yeah, just
That's
different
helpful.
ways to provide that service. Like,
Yeah.
you know, any friends or family that you talk to, like, a lot of people are frustrated, so that's opportunity.
Yeah, I look at like Circuit Clinical is a good example of that, where, you know, Irfan, you know, a successful heart surgeon, you know, realized a problem. People wanted access to clinical trials, but they couldn't get to it. It's like, oh, light bulb. And here they are with 40 employees over on Delaware Ave now. And a couple years later, it's
And it takes those people in the community, you know, that takes a lot of, I don't know what the right word is.
Chutzpah?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
To kind of leave maybe a high-paying job to then go create something that has the possibility to affect a lot of people.
Yeah, as you guys know, it's not easy. It's a lot of late nights, a lot of late hours. It's not the, you know, we're not all billionaires yet. So we're still
like
putting
that.
in. You're still
like
putting
that.
in the work, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was going to be my final question?
Blockchain.
Blockchain. How's your Bitcoin doing? You guys doing good?
I mean,
You're
for
here.
now,
You're here. So
it's a lottery ticket.
yeah, can't figure out how to cash it out yet. So
Right.
that's
Right.
what's been the most in you'll probably give me the John Gavigan answer where all my kids are the favorite, but what's been kind of one of the more fun projects that have been able to push your team and really do something fun? Is it push notifications? That's a great.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's
to
nice.
add in there. I mean, maybe we should
That's how
respond.
busy we are.
We just actually had a really good conversation with the team, and a lot of the guys really loved working on the Lloyd brand, whether it be like the new menus or the churn design system. They really like that, but also like the challenges that come with ACV are super exciting because it's getting out to a lot of people. So helping design an interface or help designing like a piece of material that is going to reach a lot of people has been really rewarding.
Yeah, reaching a lot of people is and impacting them positively is something that we want to do. And then the other part of that is helping something grow from nothing is the other thing. So that's how we've started, and that's Lloyd and ACV and these companies we tend to work with, and getting them to that big scale and then sort of figuring out where we fit in and continuing to work with them is the other thing that we really love. So those two, there's not one, so we're not fully answering the question. We're doing the politician thing here. But that's the approach that we really like to do, and that's what we were sort of built on.
You know, it's funny looking back at Lloyd's. Like, when I remember the white truck with the small sign on it because it wasn't like fully decked out yet. Hand painted, and I'm just like, you know, I always think the Ghostbuster theme. Like, you don't think people are gonna not see the sign, do you? You know, and now here they are with multiple colorful trucks. You can't miss them now. So
real estate, and that was the original. Yeah, what the trucks look like now is what we wanted them to look like.
Yeah.
But budgetary,
you got to get there.
Constraints.
Right.
Just sell them in one spot and keep it going.
So closing things up, what would be your advice for startups, founders who want to advance their user experience, the design of their brand, and they would want to come to you? What would be one of the things you kind of want to leave them with? They're thinking hard, audience.
I think we should have a better answer, fast answer to this.
Yeah, no. So what comes to mind is kind of don't drink your own Kool-Aid. Go get this out in front of people.
Yeah.
Get it out in front of potential customers. Get feedback. Ask yourself the hard questions. Don't ignore them. Ask those first. Understand what your blockers are. Understand what your biggest risks are. It's not easy. And anybody that tells you it is a liar.
Yeah.
So understand that and just write them down. Write down your biggest risks. Write down what your assumptions are about your product and about your business, and tackle them.
The problems aspect of that is always what I would always do in a newsroom meeting or something like that. It's I was always kind of the voice of dissent of okay, you all think this is a good story. Here's why it's not a good story.
It doesn't have to be positive. Let's call those things out, and at least we could start to solve those as a team, right? Once we know them.
The more you can identify those problems, the better your product will be.
What do you think?
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean the other point, and I'm stealing this from I think Ron from Z80 or some of the Buffalo Angels meetings we've been to is just to figure out who your first customer is, the first person you're going to sell this to, whatever it is. Even if it's you want to be $1 billion social media tool, you need to get that first person to sign up. How are you going to get them to sign up for it? And that helps you provide focus and not think about, okay, when we're at 100 people, we'll do X or Y, because really you have to get to 1 first, and that then actually proves someone is willing to pay for the thing you want to make, and that's just so important, because there's various firms, including ours, that you could hire to build something, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful. So having a plan towards getting to, just to 1, and then beyond that, how you're going to sell it is the thing that is most important to focus on.
Yeah, it'd be easy for you guys to design anything, collect a check, and hey, if it works out, great. If not, I get paid either way.
Yeah, we don't want to do that, and that's the thing, that there's plenty of people with ideas and just enough money, but really it is helping shape that so it becomes a business that adds jobs here and does all these other positive things for the region that both of us being from here want to happen in Buffalo.
So the big takeaway is don't hold it close to your chest. Share the idea. No one's gonna.
Everyone, yeah.
Everyone's
Tell everyone you can.
Tell everyone you can, because unless they're a true jerk, they're not gonna steal your idea. And someone else has the idea too, so it's whoever can execute it better.
Right. Exactly. It's all about execution, and you just get it out there, get feedback, get people get thinking about it.
I totally got burned a couple weeks ago. I was I have got this great idea for a machine learning auto script. You import a file, it transcribes it for podcasting and editing, and sure enough, very successful guy announced 3 weeks ago, and I've been beta testing it, and it just released yesterday to a mass fanfare. I'm all right, well, good for him. That's fantastic.
Okay. Well, let's
it's
still
okay.
do it.
Let's
we
still
can
figure
still
it out.
build it and compete with them.
Exactly.
Yahoo used to be a big search engine. Remember that?
Right. What's the saying? The first guy through the door gets shot.
Yeah. So as long as I'm behind him, it's fine.
Yeah. So.
All right. So this is the opportunity. How can people learn more about Helm?
Yeah. So
this is why we're here to plug.
All right. I like that. You can visit helmux.com and learn a little bit about how we help companies. But ultimately, we provide a dedicated team for people to both get their idea off the ground, whether you're an entrepreneur or an existing business that wants to start a different business line or launch an internal product. Check out our website or just stop by the incubator and we'll have coffee or something.
And if you're listening and you stop by the incubator, they're usually one of 4 people with a hat on here at the incubator, so you have a good shot of identifying them. So you're
gingham shirt.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we'll catch up with you guys down the road.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to you soon.